Carlisle, your clients, some of them are Republicans, some of them are Democrats, some of them are independent, some of them are, politically, they're all over the place, right? You're not going to just,
Right.
maybe even more of your clients are Republican than Democrats, possibly. I don't know if they are or not. But you don't do a survey and say, so who did you vote for? You can't do that. That's not something that you do. But you know where they lean. It's like, when they're giving money to one side, or like, Schwartzman where he leans. You know where, J.P. Morgan leans. You know where Larry Fink leans. Right. You know where a lot of these guys lean. It's not hard to kind of figure out where these guys lean. How do you I run an insurance company. We've licensed nearly 40,000 people. We have, 15,000 agents nationwide, a few hundred offices nationwide. We just sold the company to IMG, who the money came from Silver Lake. You know these companies. You know these names. So, but some of the guys that you have, they're Democrats. Some of them are Republican. And, you're spending your Thanksgiving. I mean, the president was with you during Thanksgiving.
No, let me be honest. Yeah. I lent him the house. I wasn't there. I was in Florida.
But even that, to say, Biden stays. So if I go, and the only reason I'm saying this is actually a question I'm asking because a lot of people are uncomfortable about this. So, where you ask Sam Bankman-Fried, and he said, "Yeah, I don't know who I'm going to give the money to. I'm going to probably give the money to both people on both sides of the aisle. I'm going to give it to some Republicans, some Democrats, But then some of the guys at the top, you notice they're typically on one side who they're giving the money to. How do you manage the relationships where they say?"
Let me describe.
Yeah, I'm curious.
I worked in the White House for President Carter. We lost the election to Ronald Reagan, so an election changed my future. I thought I would stay in the White House another 4 years. I decided to get out of politics and to do something different with my life. I don't give money to any politician, zero. I'm not involved.
Never?
No, zero, none.
What's your philosophy for that? I'm curious.
Well, my view is I'd like to be friendly with people in the Democratic Party and people in the Republican Party, and I don't want people to judge me by who I made a campaign contribution to. Yeah. And also, when you're giving gigantic sums of money to people, you have to wonder, is that a really great thing for democracy? So I don't want to criticize other people do it. I stay out of that. What I try to do is bring people together in this way. I host a dinner for members of Congress, only members of Congress, once a month. I bring in a great historian, and I will interview that person in front of only members of Congress. I ask the Democrats and Republicans to sit with people from the opposite party, people from the opposite house. Doing it for 7 years. And people love it, and they say it's one of the most interesting things they're doing in Congress is going to this dinner because there's no press there. They can sit and talk with people from the opposite party, which they rarely are allowed to do in today's environment in Washington, D.C. But if I was known as a big Democrat or a big Republican, it'd be harder to do that. I'm chairman of the Kennedy Center. I've been chairman for 13 years. If I was an active Democrat or actually active Republican, I think it'd be harder to do what I do, which is to bring Democrats and Republicans to the Kennedy Center. The same is true with the Smithsonian. When I was chair of the Smithsonian, I didn't want to be seen as an active Democrat or active Republican. Some people are, but I just thought it was better for me to be able to bring people together from both sides. So that's the way I look at it.
David, just out of curiosity, because the fact that you've never given money to...
Well, I didn't say never. I did many more decades ago, but not in recent 25 years.
Since you made your money, let's just say since you really made it when you haven't given money out. Do you think... if you were in charge of policies, it would be better if none of us could to find out who's the real candidate versus, constantly going out to campaigning? Because a lot of this is now about campaigning. Who can raise the most money can, become a president.
As a general rule of thumb, the person who has the most money will probably win an election. It's a general rule of thumb, not always. And so clearly, if this was a different country, we would call it, legalized bribery. You're basically getting, if somebody gives you $5 million or $10 million, what do you think that person wants for that? They want something. I don't know what it will be, and I'm not saying it's necessarily illegal. We've sanctioned it, but somebody that's giving $5, $10, $15, $20 million, they want something, and you have to wonder whether that's a good thing. Now, unfortunately, members of Congress spend so much of their time raising money now that they can't spend as much time as they want on the legislative matters. 40% of the time of House members is often spent raising money.
Wow, that's a lot.
And the reason is the more money you raise, the more likely you're going to win. And if you have money left over, you can keep it now, more or less, for political purposes the rest of your life.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that because that's you owe too many favors. It's kind of like, hey, I owe a favor to this guy, to that guy, to hey, remember that one time I gave you this? It's like, you're in debt to the people that are giving you money. I don't know if it makes the relationship more straight up.
But I'd be honest. I mean, look, I don't have a better system. I don't know what better government we could have. And as Churchill said, democracy is the worst form of government except all the others. So our government has lots of challenges. Our political system has lots of challenges, but I'm not seeing people leaving this country to go to another political system. We have 50 million people in this country who are immigrants. 50 million people. Many of them are citizens. 50 million. How many people have leaving this country every year to go elsewhere? Maybe a small percentage. Very, very few people leave because the country's got all its challenges, but still the best country in the world.
Why do you think we're confused, though? Why do you think we're confused? Where, I turn on the TV sometimes as a guy that was born in Iran, lived there 10 years. I lived 2 years in a refugee camp, came to the States, and I hear so many people that were born here bitching about America. Like, how did Americans not be proud of being Americans? Like, it became cool for the last few years to hear people bitching about the country that gave them the life that it gave them.
Well, 50 million people wouldn't have immigrated here if it was such a terrible place. I think no other country in the world is even close. The only other country even close in terms of immigrants is Germany. With about 10 to 15 million people. But people aren't rushing to China. People aren't rushing to go to live in Russia.
The Philippines.
People are rushing to live here. And obviously now people are coming across the border illegally, and that's because they're so interested in coming to this country. It's not because people aren't leaving this country to rush to Mexico, right?
Right.
That's right. Well, it's good to hear. By the way, how do you think the president is doing? I know you've commented on Trump, on his policies, economy in the past before. How do you think President Biden is doing, specifically economic policies?
Well, obviously inflation got out of control. It wasn't transitory. I think the Federal Reserve, Jay Powell used to work at our firm. I know him quite well.
Used to work at Carlyle.
He worked at Carlyle for 7 or 8 years. He's done a very good job. The biggest problem we had is that when COVID came, we didn't know what to do with it. So the Trump administration, the Biden administration, put $5 trillion into the economy, which had an inflationary impact. And the Federal Reserve kept interest rates at zero. That had inflationary impact. We didn't realize how serious it was going to be, but now we're playing catch up. I think the inflation is coming down. The economy is in reasonable shape. And as the Biden, I think he's done a pretty good job given the circumstances he inherited.
So with all the craziness taking place, I believe future looks bright. If you believe future looks bright, get your latest Future Looks Bright hat of Valuetainment. It says Future Looks Bright here, Future Looks Bright here. We got them in white, we got them in black, we got them in red. Our black on black sold out. These are about to sell out. If you haven't ordered one yet, we had a person in Michigan, bought one, then he bought 3. Then when those 3 people weren't in the office, they had to order 58 of them because people wanted the Future Looks Bright hat, especially during times like this, because ain't nobody saying Future Looks Bright. To order your Future Looks Bright hat, click over here. And to watch the entire podcast, click here. Take care, everybody.